And most of us do this when you see a person who looks homeless on the street. Even though they could use a helping hand, we avoid them. And so the idea behind this was kind of all right, so I'm going to be completely honest. I had no idea what content to shoot for these upcoming videos. I have like a huge list of different video ideas, but I don't know. I just didn't know exactly what to talk about. So what I did is I went on YouTube. I'm being completely transparent. I went on YouTube and I kind of found like a bunch of trending topics, and I kind of went through them and thought to myself, if I have some insight or if I have like my own 2 cents or my own opinion on them, I will share that with you. So I got a good list of like 8. I got about an hour. We're gonna see how many I can get through. These will probably be several different videos, but just wanted to kind of give you a overview of what I'm doing. So the first one that I saw that looked interesting is why looking rich is important. And the reason why I find this one interesting is because whenever I scroll through YouTube, I see a lot of people who are wealthy, or at least who report themselves to be wealthy, who always say, look poor. It's important to look poor. Don't try to look rich, look poor. And I've even had a few friends of mine, somewhat recently, who are trying their best to not look wealthy or to not look rich. And I'm going to be completely honest. I don't understand that logic. The mindset of looking, I won't say poor. They're not trying to look, even when people say look poor, I don't think they're trying to actively look poor, but I think what they're trying to do is not look wealthier than they are, or maybe look too wealthy to attract too much attention. I don't really understand the logic. I'm going to be completely honest. I do not understand the logic. The way I see it from every perspective, you want to get attention no matter what. I shouldn't say no matter what. There's some instances where getting attention is probably not the best thing. But for the most part, in general, I would argue that getting attention is probably the most strategic thing most people can do. So when I see people say things like you don't want to look rich or you want to look poor, my mindset is you're preventing people from effectively success, easy success. Now, this is all off my head, by the way, so if this seems like super unscripted or super disorganized, that's why. I'll say this, in my own personal life, one of the things I'm working on right now, and I've talked about this in my vlogs, but one of the things I'm working on now is trying my best to look better. Now, looking rich, the idea of looking rich, I feel like is subjective. I think you can put on a suit, and I guess technically that counts as looking rich, even though not every rich person always wears a suit. But I think the idea to keep in mind is looking as well groomed and looking as good as you possibly can within reason. I'm trying to go on my own journey to do that. I'm trying to work on getting my hair cut more frequently because I don't really cut my hair that much. I don't care about hair, but it does serve a purpose. I'm trying to focus on different skincare routines in the upcoming future. My plan is to go to a dermatologist to get kind of like reviews on my face so I can get the best products for my face, for my skin, based on how oily or whatever it is. I'm trying to invest in different clothing. Anyway, long story short, I'm trying right now to improve my appearance. And the reason why I think it's important to do this is because of what you may or may not have heard of, which is known as the halo effect. Now, if you're watching this and you're not familiar with what the halo effect is, effectively the halo effect is kind of like the belief that people attribute certain qualities to you based on the way you look. So if you're someone who is attractive, people are more inclined to give you positive traits. They're more inclined to believe that you have positive traits, even when you haven't really displayed those traits. And the reverse is also true. So if you come across looking bummy, or if you look poor, or if you look disheveled, people are more inclined to believe negative attributes about you are predominant. There was a good video I saw like years ago that kind of demonstrates this, and if I can find it, I'll share it in the description below. For the past couple years, I've been having trouble finding this video, but basically to describe it, they took 2 guys. One was a bodybuilder, and he drove up in a Ferrari. He had like this nice suit. It was tailored, well fit, and he has a baby. And the whole idea behind this experiment is that there's 2 people. One is supposed to look good, and the other person is supposed to look bad or poor. One's supposed to look rich, one's supposed to look poor. The rich guy comes out, he's this bodybuilder, he's got like a nice tailored suit. He comes out of a Ferrari, and he has a baby with him. And he's going around asking people for money because the story is that he left his wallet at home and he wants to feed his baby. Now, a lot of people were willing to give the rich guy money. They saw him pull up in a Lamborghini or Ferrari, whatever, sports car. They see he's wearing a nice suit. They see he's in great shape. Clearly, he has money. Clearly, he could just drive back home, get his wallet, and pay for the baby's food. You know, the baby can wait 5 extra minutes, I assume. But a lot of people give him money. And on the other hand, they took a guy who was poor, and he has like a shopping cart, he has his baby with him, and he doesn't look groomed, he's disheveled, and he's asking people for money. Exact same scenario. And a lot of the people, when they see the disheveled man, they don't help him. In fact, a lot of people actually got mad at him for asking. Some people got mad, some people cursed him out, a lot of people ignored him. A lot of people avoided him completely, which I'm sure, and most of us do this when you see a person who looks homeless on the street. Even though they could use a helping hand, we avoid them. And so the idea behind this was kind of the halo effect in motion. And the conclusion essentially was people were willing to give the rich guy money despite him already being rich because they just attributed positive qualities to him. They thought he must be trustworthy. He must be an honest person. He must be someone worth giving money to. And so when he asked for money, they were more inclined to give him money. Now, you know, the experiment, obviously there's some confounds there. You can argue. But the overall point that I want to make is that looking rich, or looking at least well-groomed, looking as good as you possibly can, to me, is always a net positive. And it's weird because, like I said, part of the reason why I want to make this video, I see people online, like influencers who are already wealthy, saying to people, you know, you want to look poor. And I never understand what their mindset is or what their logic is. The only thing I can come up with is that by looking rich before you're actually rich, maybe you push people away. That can be my only guess. But to me, that doesn't really make much sense. I don't really understand why you would ever suggest to somebody to look poor or to not look as rich as they possibly can. I do think there's a balance where you're overdoing it and it comes off as excessive and maybe arrogant. But I don't know. To me, it's like a job interview. Like if you're going to a job interview and you wanted a high quality job, you wouldn't show up in like jeans and a t-shirt, or you wouldn't show up looking underdressed. You'd always do better looking overdressed. Even if you came into a standard job interview with like a 3-piece suit on and it didn't call for it, I think you're much better off doing that than coming in a t-shirt and jeans, even if the job, you know, might on average call for you to wear jeans and a t-shirt. Does that make sense? I'll give an example, because actually I kind of experienced this in my life. When I was in college, there was this period where I was in between taking classes. And I remember I was trying to find a way to make more money. So up until this point, I had done like tons of different things to make more money. I worked at a movie theater. I worked at a pool hall. I worked at a bar. I think at this point I was still working at a bar as a dishwasher and as a busser. And I worked at a gas station as well. And I was also doing like freelancing on the side. I just tried to start my own business. I was doing a lot of stuff. And I talk about this in other videos, but one of the things I kind of realized is that you can't simply work more hours to get more money. You have to at some point get a different job to get more money. Like you just have to increase your income. Saving money doesn't do much. Trying to invest it when you don't have much to invest doesn't help you very much. You need to increase your income. And so that's what I tried to do. So I remember, I think I was walking around kind of off campus. I went to Penn State and I saw a job opening it was a Halloween City. It was like a seasonal job. And I think the pay was like $13 an hour, something like that, $13 or $14 an hour, which for some people might not sound like a lot. Keep in mind that how old was I at the time? I think I was like 22. I was 22 years old, I believe. And at the gas station, at this point, I was making $8.50 an hour at the gas station, sometimes working 40 hours a week if I did overtime. Not usually though. I think on average I was working about 35 hours a week. And then I also worked at a bar. And at the bar, I think I worked about 30-ish hours per week, not full time either at the bar. And I think at the bar I was making about 11, 12-ish dollars an hour plus tips, because as a busser you get tips. I don't know exactly what that'd be per 2 weeks, like per pay period. But I think I would take home usually around $700 every 2 weeks. Not that much, really, when it comes down to it. And I remember I saw this job and I was like, oh, this is perfect. It's a full-time job. This was like a 40-hour work week job. And when I kind of did the math, the paycheck that I would get was better off than what I'd get working at both the gas station and working at the bar, like simultaneously. So pretty much what I did is I kind of made a decision. Let me go to this job interview at Halloween City and figure out if I get the job, I can distance myself from the other two jobs and work a lot less but still make more money. So I go down there, and the moment I saw the job interview, my thought process was, let me go home and just try to like show up with my resume and hope that I can get hired like on the spot. Because at this point, that was like my tactic when it came to jobs. If I saw a job opening, I would just go in and just hand them my resume and just kind of cross my fingers and hope for the best. So I did that. I got dressed up in a suit, knowing that I was overdressed because it's Halloween City. And I figured if I came in a suit, at least in a college town, I'd be a lot more memorable than every other college student who would just show up in like jeans or a t-shirt or just whatever they wore to class that day. I remember walking in, and the one, I think he was like the county manager or something. He was there, and I told him that I wanted a job, gave him my resume. He kind of glanced at it, asked if I'd worked in retail before. I did. And we kind of did like a short interview. It wasn't like super formal. He just asked me a few questions. And he pretty much on the spot said, you came dressed, you came prepared, you have your resume, you're hired, when can you start? And this is what I used to do back in the past. I literally said to him, I can start today if you need me. So he's like, sure, we do need someone. You can go change and come back because you don't need to wear a suit to Halloween City. So literally I walked home, came back, got the job. And one guy that was there who had a lot more years of experience, he worked at like Party City and Halloween City full time. They were offering up a manager position, and the manager position I think paid like $16 an hour or $17 an hour or something like that. And he didn't want it because he felt like it was too much responsibility. So the county manager said, Lenny, you came up, you came in a suit, you look like you were prepared. Do you want the manager position? And I said to him, I've never been a manager before, at least not like in a job like this, but I'm willing to try. So I took the job, and that's how I got a job. But the whole reason why I told that long story is because I can't prove this, but my thought process was, if I showed up in a suit, and if I showed up looking prepared, and if I showed up making myself stand out from everyone else, I was more inclined to get the job, which I think is true because I got the job on the spot. But a part of me also thinks that had I not shown up in a suit and had I looked like every other college student, the county manager wouldn't have even asked if I wanted to be a manager of Halloween City, because he would have thought to himself, oh, this is just another college student. He's not going to take this very seriously, so I'm not even going to bother giving him this job offer because, he's a college student. He's not going to take it seriously. And even if he did want the job, I don't think he could help get the store to the point that I want the store to be when it comes to sales and organization. And it was a big Halloween City. They kind of converted, if you're familiar with like the old Abercrombie and Fitches, they had like a weird layout where if you walk in, there's like two different sections. One section was for girls and one section was for guys. They converted like this huge Abercrombie into like a Halloween City. It was massive. Like, it's hard to describe how big it was, but there were essentially like three different sections. Like it's easily one of the biggest stores. I don't know, if you've been to Abercrombie and Fitch, you probably understand what I mean. It was a big store. It's definitely a big store to turn into a Halloween City, especially in a college town. But yeah, so to kind of just bring everything back around, when it comes to trying to look rich, do it. I think try to look as rich as possible. The reason is people will attribute positive qualities to you. And there's someone who's going to be watching this that'll think to themselves, I don't like people who dress rich. I don't like people who try to like show off or do anything. I think they're showing off, and I think they're trying to like dress above where you're at in life, and it just comes off as like insecure and like obvious. And I think there's being tailored and just looking appropriate. Does that make sense? Or looking above average. I think what you want to shoot for is looking above average. Almost kind of get that pretty privilege, even if you're a guy. I don't know. That's kind of just the way I see it. It doesn't hurt to look better. It doesn't hurt to get the benefits of the halo effect. It doesn't hurt to be better looking than everyone else. I think another way of doing that, obviously getting in shape. But yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents. Should you look rich? Yes. Should you take it to the extremes? No. Do most people come close? No, not at all. Most people dress like bums. Most people dress horribly. Most people don't groom themselves. Most people aren't even in good shape, at least in America. So you putting forth at least some effort to get closer towards looking rich is better for you than doing what everyone else does, which is trying to look poor or average. So hopefully this sense. If it does, let me know down in the comments. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comments as well. And please like the video, share it with someone who might get some value out of this. And I will see you in the next video. Peace out. Bye.